Welcome to the Corporate Treasury 101 podcast. This is the first part of our full interview with Chris van Dijl, where we discuss what are Treasury certifications and their importance. Chris is a seasoned Treasury professional with over 25 years of experience. He worked his way up from Treasury Analyst to Group Treasurer in various countries before founding his consultancy and training firm, Cugavadi. Previously, he was the global lead trainer for the Certificate in International Cash Management, CertICM, of the Global Association of Corporate Treasurers. Cugavadi, founded by Chris in 2014, specializes in consultancy and training services for corporate treasury and transaction banking. With offices in Dubai and Charlotte, USA, Cugavadi serves clients from both locations. In the episode of today, expect to learn: what is a Treasury certification? Is there a particular level at which a Treasury certification is desired, if not required? How does obtaining a Treasury certification affect someone's career prospects in the Treasury field? What skills or knowledge does someone gain from earning a Treasury certification? Are there certain regions more concerned with certifications? And much, much more. Chris is very fun to talk to, and as a former trainer of the renowned Treasury certification CertICM himself, he is very knowledgeable about the topic. We hope you will enjoy the episode, and if that is the case, and when you think about how you found our podcast, chances are that it was through word of mouth, social media, or a recommendation from your favorite podcast platform, or even a friend or colleague. And this is our only request to you. The only way we can get more and more amazing guests like Chris and more people to learn about Treasury is thanks to you. So if you enjoy what you hear and maybe learn a thing or two, please consider following the show, leaving us a review, or sharing this episode to help others discover it too. With all that being said, please welcome Chris van Dijl. Chris, thank you so much for joining the show. We are here today to talk about Treasury certifications. But maybe before diving into the nitty-gritty, can we start by giving an overview? So can you explain me what is a Treasury certification to begin with?
Thanks, Guillaume. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me on the podcast. What is a Treasury certification? A certification really has two aims, I would say. Is first of all for a Treasury professional to get a better understanding, to learn about Treasury concepts that he might not know about or that might be valuable for his career. And the second one, which is probably just as much, is to show to others that you have a certain knowledge and capability within corporate treasury.
And so why would it be important to achieve those two objectives, having knowledge and, most importantly, showing it? Because one can go without the other, I guess. Not the second one, but why would it be important to have a Treasury certification?
Apart from the certification part, which is probably a very nice piece for your CV, everybody's very keen about professional development, continuous learning, continuous professional growth. And the benefit of a Treasury certification is really when you are working in corporate treasury and you're working in a company or a bank, because a lot of transaction bankers have professional treasury certifications as well, you would know a lot about how your company operates, but what is out there. Yeah, and you can go to a lot of conferences and hear a lot of companies speak, but you actually study and see what is the fundamental academic aspects of corporate treasury to add to your knowledge. It's very wise. And especially since in most universities, corporate treasury is not a subject that is taught. So there's a lot of people that have a degree in business, a degree in finance, a degree in accounting. There might be a chartered accountant already, but a lot of treasury concepts are actually not covered there. So this is almost an addition to what university is not teaching you.
That is very, very true. Interestingly, you mentioned about transaction bankers having treasury certifications. You would suspect bankers to have banking certifications and treasurers to have treasury certifications. Why would the banker look into treasury certification exactly?
This is especially because when we talk about the transaction bankers, those that work on cash management, trade finance, they want to understand and they want to know how their customers is thinking. And therefore, it's very important for them to know the latest concepts of a treasurer within Treasury. How does a Treasury think? How's a corporate set up? And those that work in transaction banking, most of them have only worked in transaction banking. They know how a bank works, but they don't always know how a corporate works. If you can take an example, a certificate in international cash management was actually started by the support of 3 large banks in London, together with the ACT, because they wanted to have a program to train their transaction bankers on what does a treasurer actually do? How do they think? What are the latest concepts? And I've also seen, for example, in the Middle East, where a lot of the best practice treasury products, in-house banking, payment factory, Kobo, Pobo, the treasurer would come to the bank, talk about in-house banking, payment factory, Pobo, Kobo, and the bankers would have no clue. Yeah. So for them to understand their customer and be aware of the latest developments, for them it's very useful to have a certification as well.
I think there is a good lesson here. Know your customer. No pun intended with the banks, of course. Know
your customer. Exactly. Yes.
Very good. Another thing you mentioned was growth. I would suspect that somebody who, let's say, take a treasury certification and passes it and obtains it will be to validate his or her knowledge in it and be even more efficient at what he or she does. But when we look at the growth aspects, it will be some people could have been going for a treasury certification in order to expand their knowledge on something they might not be knowledgeable about, maybe. So maybe to be a bit more concrete. So let's say I'm a cash manager, right, within a treasury department, but I look at financial risk management certification, for instance.
Yes.
Would that be also the reason why you would want to a certification, to also be expanding your knowledge and then add this to your, I don't know the right quill, let's say?
Yeah, absolutely. There's most of the time, the people that take a treasury certifications are at the beginning of their career. Yeah, just like everybody would take their CIMA, ACCA certification between 20 and 30, because that is really to prove your knowledge and to prove your skill. And of course, if you are in the treasury department and you're heavily involved in cash management and you want to grow, you want to do something, you want to go to the front office, you want to do funding and issuing bonds. If you then take a treasury certification to show, listen, I have the academic knowledge of this, so therefore I can take this next role, that definitely helps as well. Yeah.
Super interesting. So actually, you are already answering my next question. I was wondering, as of which level do you need a certification, but maybe start looking into a certification? And to add a little bit of an anecdote of me. So obviously, when you enter the treasury world after a few years, it's a very niche and there is a lack of talent, obviously. So you receive those proposition job offers on LinkedIn and all that beautiful stuff. And when you look at job posts for the levels I am targeted for, apparently, so analyst, senior analyst, assistant manager, I didn't see that many treasury certification required. But now you're saying that people are looking at certification at the beginning of their career eventually. So where is the right approach here? Do you want to pass a certification early on? Do you need it later in your career? Where do you position yourself?
See, there's very few treasury analyst roles where they would already expect you to be AIM-CT qualified. But very often it will say, preferably studying towards a treasury qualification or willing to do so. Because once you want to go to that treasury manager level, very often they will require you to have a treasury certification. So if you want to move up in your role and you start, I started as a treasury analyst, junior treasury analyst. I had nothing. But they also said, if you want to move up, if you want to take that next step to treasury manager, senior treasury manager, we would expect you to have a treasury certification so that we know as well that you have the knowledge to take on the next role.
Interesting. So you want to start looking at treasury certification in the early stages of your career, and you will start to need it as of mid-level management and upper, I guess.
Correct. Yeah,
that's a bit what it is. Super cool. So what are the skills and kind of knowledge somebody acquires when training for a treasury certification and earning that treasury certification? What are we looking at exactly in terms of skills?
In the old days, it was pure technical skills. So you learn technical cash management, risk management, financial risk management, and that was almost it. A little bit of accounting, a little bit of tax where it is applicable to Treasury. Nowadays, we see that Treasury certifications add a lot more, and they add a lot of soft skills, interpersonal skills as well, especially once you get to the more senior Treasury certifications. So you learn the core technical aspects of Treasury in all of them. But nowadays you see, especially with the ACT, they're very keen on the soft aspect, on the people management, which you add as well, that brings you even better to the career.
That's amazing. That's super interesting. So Treasury certification providers are not only focusing on the technical aspects now, but also on the soft skills. So they will expect, okay, you look at the Treasury certification when you reach the manager level and above, but you will also need people's management skills and other soft skills next to it. And that's included in the Treasury certification. That
depends, because let me put some
sure.
pens around that. The ones I'm talking about are the big Treasury certifications, the AMCT and the MCT of the ACT. What they have done now as well, especially the ACT again, they have entered a lot of starting low-level Treasury certifications. Certificate in Treasury Fundamentals, Award in International Cash Management, Certificate in Treasury, and those are mostly pure technical. It's really once you go to the next level, the AMCT, MCT, then that's when the soft skills really come in, the people management, how to be a manager.
Yeah, makes sense.
And even the top certification in the ACT, which is the MCT, Member of the Corporate Treasurers, they actually related to an MBA, almost. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's almost at MBA level, and that's why all these more soft skills come in: management, how to deal with leadership, how to influence, for example. Which is very interesting. But those are really, you cannot take that degree, that certification, even at the beginning of your career. This is really at a later stage.
Obviously. So, Chris, one of our favorite exercise on the podcast is to chase and break down acronyms. And you mentioned a few.
There's so many.
Yeah, it's like that's what Treasury is about, right? It's all about jargon, lingo, and acronyms. So I feel we're gonna touch upon those a little bit further in the episode. But since you mentioned them already, can you explain what ACT? I think you quickly mentioned MCT, AMCT as well. What are all those? What are all those?
So there are several Treasury associations in the world that issue Treasury certification. One of the largest ones, and the one that's the biggest in the one from the UK, very big in the UK and Europe, is the ACT, the Association of Corporate Treasurers. The next big one is probably the AFP, Association for Finance Professionals in the USA. Those are probably the two leading ones. Yeah, there's another one in Australia, the Australian Corporate Treasury Association. Yeah, and there are some more scattered around as well, but those are the 2-3 main ones. If we go into the acronyms of the certifications, and there's a lot. The AFP, to make it easy, they only have one certification, the Association of Financial Professionals. They are known for the CTP, Certificate in Certified Treasury Professional. CTP, very, very well known, very common. The ACT, the Association of Corporate Treasurers, has a number of qualifications, starting with the lower level entry Certificate in Treasury, which is a CertICM, Certificate in Treasury Fundamentals, Award ICM, Award in International Cash Management, which leads up to the CertICM, Certificate in International Cash Management. And then the big one, which is the main for Treasury managers and above, is the AMCT, which means you are an associate member of the Association of Corporate Treasurers. And once you are going for that MBA level certification, it's the MCT, then you will become a full member of the Association of Corporate Treasurers.
Wow. Those are some very fancy names. Amazing. Thanks a lot for this, Chris. So obviously I want to break down those one by one, know what they are about, but maybe before getting into this. So how do those Treasury certification impact and affect someone's career? I think we've covered. Are there certain regions more concerned by certifications than others? And it's super interesting because you just mentioned So the two biggest treasury associations are ACT in the UK and Europe, AFP in the USA. I need to sing praise of Europe as well. So there is the EACT, but I think that is a bit less active on the certification aspect, but it's also a big...
They don't have certifications. It's the underlying Treasury Association. The ACT is a member of the EACT as well.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So those regions, or let's say any regions, are there certain that are more concerned by certifications? Like, would a group treasurer in Australia look at treasury certifications the same way as a group treasurer would look at them in the USA, for instance, when they are to hire somebody or grow their career?
There are definitely regional differences. And I think going to the UK is a country that's very keen on certifications. If you look at CIMA, your management accountant certification is from the UK. ACCA is from the UK. So the UK academic environment is very much, you have your university degree, which is fairly broad and not very specialized. And after that, you do a professional qualification to specialize. So especially in the UK, certifications are part of the society. Very keen.
Why is that?
This is because of their academic setup. Their universities tend to be more broad rather than much more focused and specialized. Whereas if you go to Europe, university degrees, they're normally longer as well, 4 years against the 3 years, and they're much more focused and specialized on a specific aspect. If you do economics, it's pure hardcore economics. And therefore in Europe, it never used to be that much. Professional qualifications were never really that big. They were certifications when you needed to have one, because to sign your financial accounts, you needed to be a chartered accountant. So those were always there. But for Treasury, it's more like a nice to have. But in the UK, it's big, and we see this coming in Europe and in Europe now as well. And of course, there's regional differences as well. In the Netherlands, you have a very good course, the Registered Treasurer, the RT course, but that's really focused on Dutch treasurers. And also more or less based on the AMCT, but it's really focused on the Dutch market. If we go to the US, CTP has been around for years. It used to be called Certified Cash Manager before, about 20 years ago. Now it's a CTP, and it's really a proof that you know what you're doing. And I think especially in Treasury is so specialized. It's not something you can learn in university. You learn by experience. And the way that you can actually show off and show the recruiter, as well as your boss, that you know what you're doing, that's why you take a Treasury certification.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.